Hey fight fans, welcome back to the Fight Book. This is the Indian Extra guy, and today we have massive fight news for boxing fan as there are three massive cards announced. But we have sad news for UFC fans. Four fights are cancelled. So, like always, let's start the video with the UFC section and see what happens in the UFC world in the last 24 hours. First, we have news from UFC 317 International Fight Week headliner, which was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Duplessis for the middleweight title. Now, it is reported that UFC middleweight champion Dricus Duplessis has reportedly picked up an injury, meaning his potential showdown with Khamzat Chimaev is now off the table for the UFC 317 event on June 28th. Khamzat Chimaev seems to have heard the news, and this is how he reacted via Twitter. Top UFC middleweight and fighting nerd Caio offers to step in and fight Khamzat Chimaev for the interim title following these rumors. And then after some time, he publicly announced that Khamzat Chimaev has accepted the fight against him for the interim belt, and this is now up to the UFC. And if they make this fight, he promised that this would be a better fight than Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Duplessis. Khamzat on his Instagram story shares an emoji of a flight, which maybe means he is coming to USA to headline International Fight Week. You tell me, what do you think is gonna be the new headliner for International Fight Week UFC 317? I think I speak for everyone if I say we don't want Alexandre Pantoja as the headliner of the event. Now, the next news is from UFC 316 headliner Dvalishvili versus O'Malley. Sean O'Malley was seen in crutches yesterday on a deleted Snapchat from Tommy McMillan. It is unclear what is the injury and how serious is that injury in that moment, but there are speculation that he could also pull out from the fight, but currently no confirmation from any source. Anyway, the fight I have already told you that Kevin Holland versus Vicente Luque is in works for UFC 316. Now this fight has officially announced, which means you can trust when Indian accent guy tells you that a fight is in works. Next news is from this weekend's card UFC Kansas City, April 26, Machado Gary versus Carlos Prates. A fighter, Ahmed Hassanzada, who was supposed to face Ivan Elder in a lightweight bout, was pulled from his scheduled UFC debut this weekend at Kansas City after being arrested on Friday afternoon in Sacramento on charges of alleged sexual assault against a minor. The 28-year-old had been removed from the UFC roster as well after earning a contract on last season's Dana White's Contender Series. Replacing him is Gauge Young, who is Missouri's own and had lost his Dana White's Contender Series opportunity to Quillan Skillet last year. But then he came back into the win column with a round 2 knockout, and now he is in the UFC. Now let's move to the boxing section. We have big fight announcement from Boxing World as Ring Magazine's third card is revealed that will happen on July 12th in New York City. The headliner was already reported that would be Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. Now three more fights are revealed for that card, and all these fights are awesome. First is a super middleweight bout between WBO number 3 ranked Edgar Berlanga, who will be welcoming Hamza Shiraz in his first big fight after losing his O to Canelo. Unlike many big prospects, Shiraz is not taking a tune-up fight and getting straight in a big fight in his super middleweight debut. He is coming off a draw against middleweight champion Carlos Adames. Then there is a super lightweight bout between WBC champion Alberto Puello versus former champion Sabriel Matias. It will be Puello's second defense against the former champion, who is coming off 2 straight knockout wins after losing his belt last year in June 2024. Then lastly, there would be a light heavyweight bout between WBC and WBO number 2 ranked David Morrell versus WBC number 7 ranked 10-0 undefeated Imam Khatib. It is going to be Khataev's first big opportunity, while on the other hand, it would be Morales' comeback fight after losing his belt to David Benavidez. One more thing to let you know that Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford will also be taking place on this card as the headliner if Canelo wins next weekend. And one more thing, one day before this massive card, there is MVP's Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 3. So these two nights are going to be great for boxing fans. The next card is announced from Matchroom Boxing, headlined by WBC interim champion Galal Yafai versus the number one contender Francisco Rodriguez Jr. Yafai will return in his hometown for the first defense of his belt, which he won with an upset win over Sonny Edwards. Francisco Rodriguez, on the other hand, is a former unified 108 pounds champion and is currently riding a 4-fight win streak after a unanimous decision loss to Junto Nakatani in 2022. The card will be aired on DAZN on June 21st and will take place in Birmingham, West Midlands, England. The co-main event will be super bantamweight bout between IBF number 4 ranked contender Shabazz Massoud versus WBA number 6 ranked contender Peter McGregor. Massoud had been in talks to fight Naoya Inoue, so if he gets a good win over Peter McGregor on June 21st, he can throw his name in the hat for Inoue's next opponent. On the other hand, McGregor is on a 3-fight win streak after losing his O in December 2023. Undercard fights include a welterweight bout between Conor Walker versus Liam Taylor, the return of cruiserweight Olympian Pat Brown, homecoming for 7-0 super featherweight prospect Ibrahim Suleiman, 5-0 middleweight prospect Aaron Bowen, and 5-0 flyweight prospect Khamzat. Third and the last announcement from the boxing world was from MVP Boxing, and that is about Jake Paul versus Julio Chavez Jr. In my last video, I had told you that this fight is in works, but the date and the card was not announced. Now it is announced that this card will take place on June 28th on DAZN PPV and will take place in Anaheim, California. I just want to remind you that Julio Chavez Jr. is the same boxer who lost to Anderson Silva, and Jake Paul have already beaten Silva. Anyway, the co-main event of the card will be a cruiserweight titles bout where WBA and WBO champion Gilbert Ramirez will be defending his belt against number 1 contender Junior Dorticos. I had already told you about this fight as well, but this is now confirmed that this fight will be the co-main event of Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. under the MVP banner, and that's all from the boxing world as well. Now you are completely up to date with the fight world. If you like my work, if you like the video, you know what you are supposed to do. Share your thoughts in the comment section, as your feedback is my motivation, and then you can do whatever you want.